All right, everybody, let's talk about the 3 different cuts that the CNC machine can make for this sign project. The first one, a V-Carve, a pocket, and a profile. V-Carve, pocket, profile. They're very individual types of cuts, so we need to specify when we make the sign which cut we need to make. So if we were gonna V-Carve something, if we wanted to V-Carve a letter, let's say the letter M. If we wanted to V-Carve this, the bit, if we want to V-Carve that with this bit is going to go into the wood to make that letter shape. So it's going to cut down, do this in a different color. You're going to see that center line . And it's gonna make like a valley going into the M. Now, if we were gonna do a pocket M, we would use a profile bit like this, or an end mill. We'd use an end mill bit like this one. And what that will do is it'll go down into the wood and cut out the letter. And it won't have a valley going into the M. It will be straight down. But because the bit is round, all the corners will be rounded. So you won't get any sharp corners when you use an end mill. The V-Carve allows you to get the sharp corner because it will come up out of the valley and cut that corner. Whereas if you did a pocket with an end mill, everything will be rounded. But what the pocket is nice is if you were gonna go around the letter, so the letters are raised if you wanna remove material around the letter. Now a profile is when the machine will just ride one line. So on the drawing, if we wanted a V-Carve, we would have a block letter. If we wanted a pocket inside the letter, we'd have a block letter. Even if we had around the outside, we'd have a block letter to leave the thickness of the wood. But a profile, we would have a single line. And then the bit, the point of the bit, or the center of the end mill, will follow that line all the way across. But then you have to tell the machine how deep into the wood to go and how big the tool is, because the tool, the bit that you put in the router determines how big the lines are. So if you had only a 1/4 inch bit, then this line will be a 1/4 inch in size. And if you wanted to make a larger letter, you would need to have a larger bit. Now profiles are nice if you just want to get a specific detail, or we also use this to cut material out. So if we have a large board and we need to cut out a circle, we would draw a circle and make a profile cut that would cut through the wood and cut the circle out of the board. So these are the 3 types of cuts we do on the CNC machine, especially when we make our signs, is a V-Carve, a pocket, and a profile. So here's a good example. Here's a good example of a big sign carved on a CNC machine. You can see the V groove right here in the letters. So they would have designed this in a similar program, what we're talking about. It carves around the picture in this case, and then in these, going into the wood and carving out the letter. Here's another good example. Here's a big one. Township of Morris. You can see the V. There's the V groove. This is a little steeper of an angle. The angle's a little steeper on this one than on the other one. Would have been a different shaped router bit, a wider V to get this shape. So you have to consider how thick the material is. You see? So you don't want to go, if the V is too big, it'll go all the way through. And you want those wide letters. So they make it a shallow cut with a wide letter. And in this case, it actually varies in width through, but you can see the V, the line, is consistent all the way down. Now they didn't just do carving. You can see the accent is like a sticker. There's like vinyl around the outside. And they vinyl print at the top, but this is carved. And I remember when they put these in, it's lasted a long time. It's a busy road, Madison Avenue. That one is carved around the letters. So the letters are raised and it's carved around them. So there you can see around the letters is carved out with this texture. And all the gold painted stuff is raised up in comparison to the other ones, which were a V-Carve, where the letters were carved into the wood, lower than the surface. So it's two different styles. We can even just walk around Morristown and look for examples. Like right here, look at these. So the one on the top, the letters are cut out. So a machine would cut out the letters and then they would be glued onto a flat surface like the top, so you get that 3D texture. So it's not carved around, but actually cut out pieces and glued on. And the one below it is like the one we saw earlier, where all this is texture and then the letters are raised. So you can see here, all this is carved and the letters are not. So it's carved around this. Actually, this might be made of something totally different. I don't know, it's pretty awesome though. So you can see the variety. Let's keep walking. Here's another good example. Can you see it? Big sign, big deep V letters carved in and painted. So the letters in this case are carved into the wood. Really well made. This one's really detailed. So it's got the carved letters, the V-carved letters, and then the cross piece is actually another textured piece that's put on top. So this has multiple layers. It's not just a flat sign with carved in or relief out. This has actually got multiple layers, and all the text at the bottom is carved in too. Little ways up, here's another one. Women's Club of Morristown. Very similar to the one we saw earlier. Flat board with the letters and the profile, that border, carved in and painted gold in there. Compare that to this one, which is just printed. So there's no texture. Here's an example I've always loved, is this Seasons olive oil. Can you see it? So this one, you can see, is carved around, and it has those extra detail pieces that give the letters a little more 3D look. So you have a reversed, hopefully this comes through on the lens, there's texture to that letter. It's like a mountain, it's like a reverse V that's then secured to the board. And then this lower portion with the teal that gives it that little accent. I've always loved this sign, the detail on this, really well done. As well as the one that swings, look at that. Same concept, it's got the textured letters and then the accent piece a little bit lower behind it. Really, really good. Here's another one. You can see V-carved, painted nice. There's another deep V-groove example. Even the little leaf there. So you can do this a little bit, sometimes out of plastic. Like this one. This one's actually printed though. But they do carve where it's like a white plastic and a black plastic, and they'll just carve away. This actually is interesting because this sign, I'm on the green. Welcome to the green. On all the trees in the green, there are these like little plaques that tell you the tree. And a few of my students, I don't know how many years ago, made all these little blocks of wood and screwed these here. Morristown High School Woodshop. Every tree in the green has a label of what it is. Anyway, pretty cool. A lot of history here. There's an example right across there, the New Jersey sign. That's a carving. All right, here's a local example. Am I in focus? Here's a local example, right? Here we got the school. Football field, field house. So that's V-carve too. See that? It's thin,
so it can't go as deep.
Right there. Good local example. Here just outside the front door is a V-Carve sign with curved text. And you can see the V inside here. Local example. Or this V-Carve. So in this case, it's V-carved letters here, and then these are V-carved around the letters. So we have raised letters and we have carved letters. So there was a bunch of examples of V-carved signs. We're gonna be making our own.